Hello, dear students. Welcome back to your English class. So, let us continue with the previous chapter. Last class, we saw up till page number 31 from the chapter The Happy Prince. We have discussed up till this first paragraph where the bird, the swallow, says to the statue of the Happy Prince that, "Have you any commission for Egypt?" He cried, "I am just starting." So, this is where we ended in the last class. So let us continue from there, and today we will end this chapter. All right. So after it, what happens? So as the swallow says that the bird is about to start his journey for Egypt. Now the statue of the Happy Prince says that now the Happy Prince again requested Swallow to stay with him for one more night, and Swallow replied that he needed to go to Egypt because his friends were waiting for him. Now, here the Happy Prince is telling the swallow about his second work. He says that far away across the city, I could see in a small dark room at the top of the house a young man is sitting. He was sitting on a desk on which the papers were spread all over, and he was trying to work hard. He had a glass lying near him in which withered flowers were lying. Okay, that's what the statue of the Happy Prince says to this swallow. And he doesn't end here. Further, the Happy Prince also gives a description of that boy. He said that his hair were brown and crisp, which meant that he had not taken bath for a long time. His lips were red like a pomegranate, and he had a big dreamy eyes, which also means that that this boy was very ambitious and hardworking. Now, in addition to this, the Happy Prince also said to the little bird swallow that this boy needed to finish writing a play, and he was a writer, and he had to give the play to the director after writing. But he did not have strength to write anymore because he was feeling very cold. The boy had no money, so that's why there was no fire in his fireplace, and he was very hungry also, due to which he was feeling very weak. Now, after listening to this, the swallow understood. The swallow understood what Happy Prince was trying to tell him. He knew that Happy Prince wanted to help this boy, so he agreed to stay back for one more night. And further, the swallow asked Happy Prince if he should take another ruby stone to give it to the young playwright. Okay, just like the one he had given it to the old lady. Now the prince said that it was very sad that he did not have any more ruby stones with him. But however, the Happy Prince said that now he had his eyes, which were made of very precious and rare sapphire stones, which had been bought thousands of years ago from India. That's what now this is actually the dialogue, the conversation going on between the Happy Prince and the little bird swallow. So the Happy Prince told Swallow that to take out one sapphire and give it to the boy. The swallow, after listening to it, he was very sad. He was very sad to learn that the Happy Prince wanted to give his eyes to that boy. And the bird started crying. He told Happy Prince that he could not do so. But even after that, the prince insisted, and in fact the Happy Prince ordered the swallow to do what he had told him to do. So finally, as he was ordered, so the swallow took out one eye, one sapphire out of prince's eye, and flew to the young man's place. All right, there was a hole on the roof of the room, and so the swallow entered the room through that hole. The boy was sitting with his hat on his hands, and that's why he did not hear the flutter of the bird's wing. And when he looked up, he saw the sapphire stone lying on the dried flowers. When the boy saw the beautiful stone, he felt that some admirer or some person who praised him had sent a gift for him. So he thought that with this, he could now at least finish his play. And as usual, the bird went back, and now the next day, when the swallow flew down to the harbor, okay, and he sat on the mast of a large vessel and watched the sailors working. Okay, there were some sailors working, and there the swallow, out of happiness, he just started. Like you can say, saying aloud that I'm going to Egypt, but nobody minded to his words. And again, when the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince that particular day. Okay, I'm talking about this next day. So, next day, as I told you, the swallow bird flew down to the harbor and sat on the mast of ship, and even he spoke loudly that he was going to Egypt, but nobody even bothered about that. And when it was night, he flew back to the happy prince. Now, swallow once again told the happy prince that the bird had come to say goodbye and he was going to Egypt. But the moment he said so, once again, the happy prince requested swallow to stay with him for one more night. The swallow said now, to the happy prince that the winter season had started, and after some time it would start snowing, and the weather in Egypt was warm, and even the crocodiles lay on the mud lazily there. So he told him to let him go to Egypt. But this time, the statue of the happy prince was already ready with the third assignment for the little bird swallow. The happy prince said that there was a match girl. She was a little girl, and all her matchsticks had fallen in the gutter, gutter, sewage, and as a result it got wet. Now all her matchsticks were spoiled, so she could not sell them, and if she could not sell them, she would not be able to earn any money. And when she would go home without money, then her father would get angry and beat her. So for this reason, the girl was crying. And also, further to this, in addition to this, the happy prince also said that she was not wearing shoes or any stockings, and she had not covered her head. She was very poor. So he said to the swallow to take out another sapphire from his eyes and give it to her, so that her father did not beat her. Okay. Now, swallow agreed to stay with him for one more night, but he refused to take out another sapphire, because if he did that, then the happy prince would be completely blind, as one of the sapphire of his eye he has already given to that young writer, right? So now finally, but when the happy prince insisted again and after, so at last finally the swallow obeyed the happy prince's order, and he took out another sapphire stone from his eye and flew to the little match girl. And when he saw the match girl, he bent very low and kept the sapphire stone on the little girl's hand. The little girl was very happy to see the stone, and she went home happily. And after this, when the swallow was returning back to the happy prince, and after he came back, after he returned, he told the happy prince that now he was blind, and since the happy prince cannot see the sadness, the situations of the people, so as a result, now the bird said that I would stay with you forever. So now the bird agreed to stay with him forever. But when the bird agreed to stay with him forever, now the happy prince said to the swallow that he should go to Egypt. But now swallow refused and said he would stay with him and he would not go anywhere. And also he said that he would be sleeping on the prince's feet, on the prince's feet. So the swallow used to stay along with the happy prince all the time, and now since the happy prince does not have any vision, so the bird used to tell him the stories of the different places that he had visited. The happy prince said to the swallow to tell him wonderful things, but added that nothing was more wonderful than the suffering of the people. No misery was bigger than sadness, and he wanted to know who all were sad in his kingdom. So he asked the swallow to go and let him know what he saw while flying over the city. So the swallow flew and took a round over the city and saw that the rich people were living happily in their beautiful houses, and they were partying while the poor people were begging and sitting outside the gates. Then he went to the dark lanes, and there was no light at all. Also the poor people lived in those dark lanes. There he saw that the children were hungry, due to which their faces had turned white. And further, the swallow also saw two little boys under an archway of the bridge, and they were lying much close to each other, so that they kept themselves warm. They were so poor, they didn't have food, so they were trying to keep each other warm. These two children were starving and wondering that how hungry they were. Just then, a watchman appeared and scolded them. He shouted and made them go away from there. The poor children kept wandering in the rain as they were homeless. So after seeing all this thing scenario, Swallow goes back to the Happy Prince. He went back and told him that what he had seen in the city. The Happy Prince, after listening to this entire whole, whatever is going on in the city, the happenings, the Happy Prince told the Swallow that his whole body was covered with fine gold, and he could take tiny pieces of gold from his body and give it to the poor people in need. So all the living beings require, and we all know that we as a living being, we require money. And when they would get gold, they would feel happy. You can sell that gold, and in return you can fulfill whatever requirement you have. So as a result, after the Happy Prince said so slowly the Swallow took out the gold layers from the statue of the Happy Prince, and as he removed the layers of the gold, the Happy Prince statue, the statue of the Happy Prince started looking dull and grey. And as the statue of the Happy Prince started looking dull and grey, the children grew happier. Why? Not because the statue was becoming dull and grey. It is because those children, those poor children, they were getting food to eat. As I told you, this little bird swallow, it was all distributing the amount of gold which was there in the statue of the Happy Prince to all the needy people, to all the poor people. So at least the poor people could get some food to eat. And finally, winter arrived and it started snowing, and when a lot of snow fell, everything got froze. Everyone was wearing cloths made of fur. Even small children were wearing red color caps and were roaming here and there. They were skating on the ice. But this particular bird, swallow, was feeling very cold, but still he kept on sitting near the Happy Prince's statue, and he did not want to leave him because he loved the Happy Prince. The bird did not want to die, so he used to go to the bakery where the baker used to bake the bread, to eat the bread crumbs and try to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. He goes to the bakery as the bird doesn't want to die. Now, the swallow was aware that because of this winter and because of too much of cold, he was about to die, and he had only enough strength to fly back to the statue of the Happy Prince. That's all, the strength that he was left with. And he says that now when the swallow is about to die, he says to the Happy Prince that, "Can I kiss your hand?" Happy Prince said to the swallow that it had stayed there for a very long time, and now it should go to Egypt. It wanted the bird to kiss its lips instead of the hands because the statue loved the bird. The swallow bird said to the Happy Prince that he was not going to Egypt but to the house of Death. He also added that the Death was a brother of sleep. I repeat, Death, a brother of sleep. That's what the swallow said. He kissed the Happy Prince on his lips and fell down to the feet of Happy Prince and died. Now, as soon as the bird died on Happy Prince's feet, and an unusual sound came out from the statue. Can you tell me what was that sound about? The sound was of the breaking of the statue's heart. Remember? In the beginning of the chapter we have discussed, the heart was made up of a lead. The heart broke because of the death of his beloved bird, But it is said that it was so cold that the heart broke into two pieces. And the very next morning, the mayor of the city, along with his councillors, was just taking a round of the area where the statue of the Happy Prince was erected. And when the mayor crossed the statue, he looked up at it. He said that the statue of the Happy Prince looked untidy. Even the councillors agreed with whatever the mayor used to say. So they also asserted that the statue, looked untidy. Now, the mayor noticed that the ruby stone which was placed in the handle of the sword was missing. The sapphires from the statue's eyes were also missing, and the layer of the gold from its body was missing as well. So, the mayor said that it seemed as if it was a statue of a beggar, and the town councillors also agreed with him. After which, the mayor noticed that a dead bird was lying on the feet of the statue, and then he told the town councillors to pass an order that birds were not allowed to die on the feet of the statue, and also he told the town clerk to make a note of the suggestions, whatever was given by him. Then the art professor of the university said that now the statue of the Happy Prince did not look beautiful and was not useful anymore, so they should demolish it. So as a result, they melted the statue, which was made of lead. It got melted in a furnace. Furnace, a fireplace where basically metals are melted. And the supervisor of the foundry, saw a strange thing. When this particular statue was being getting melted, the heart of the Happy Prince's statue, which was broken into two pieces, was not melting in the furnace. So they threw it as it is in the dust heap. But coincidentally, they threw the heart of the Happy Prince where the dead swallow was also lying. And now, after this, it so happened that, if you could see at the end of the chapter, the last two paragraphs. Now, God asked one of his angels to bring him, I'm talking about God, God asked one of his angels to bring him the two most precious things of the city. The angel brought the two pieces of heart of the statue and the dead swallow bird. After which, by seeing to this, God said to the angel that it had brought the right thing. It had chosen the right things, which were indeed the most precious things of the city. He said that the bird would always sing in the garden of his paradise, and the Happy Prince would stay in his city of gold and admire him. So see, this is how you get rewarded when you do good for others, right? Yes, the bird died out of cold. Even the condition of the statue of the Happy Prince at the end was a miserable one. But however, they were rewarded in the heaven by the Almighty God. So as I told you, do good and good will come back to you. No matter whether somebody is watching you or not. In fact, when people does good only if you are being observed, that is not called doing good. One must also do good. If you are really good at heart, then you will not bother, you will not think whether somebody is observing you or not. You will do always what is right, what is good. God bless you, my dear children. With this we end this chapter. Go through the text, and in case if you have any doubt, you can get back to me, but listen to the explanation properly. Thank you.